Alright, a challenge to the entire way the NFL machine operates. And if you've been paying attention, really paying attention, then you already know what I'm talking about. When those tapes dropped, those leaked interview clips of Shedeur in the pre-draft process, it didn't just clear his name, it blew the lid off the whole operation. I'm talking about the way teams evaluate prospects, the coded language scouts use behind closed doors, the politics behind draft stock manipulation, all of it. That leak wasn't just a vindication, it was a detonation. It didn't just protect Shedeur, it exposed everyone else. And here's the thing, Shedeur didn't come out swinging, he didn't go on some social media rant, he didn't whine, he didn't beg to be seen, he let the footage speak. And when that moment came, he handled it with a level of calm, composure, and command that you don't usually see in a rookie, hell, not even in most vets. What we saw in that tape was a young man who knew exactly who he was, who knew the game being played around him, and who had the patience to wait until the moment was right to drop the truth. That wasn't self-defense, that was a surgical strike, and the fallout immediate. Cleveland Browns fans, we already had a sense something special was brewing. We've been riding that Shedeur train since he got drafted, but when those tapes hit the internet, man, it felt like we hit the lottery. You saw the comment sections, you saw the reposts, the reactions, the breakdowns. Fans lost their minds, and it wasn't just in Cleveland. Giants fans, that was chaos. Half of them were hiding their faces in shame, the other half were raging at their front office. We passed on this guy for Daniel Jones. Again, version 5.0. You couldn't script that better. And for those of us who've been here since day one, who saw through the noise and the smear campaigns and the narrative manipulation, it was validation, but also a warning shot to every front office in the league. The old system is broken, and the truth is coming out, so please take 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button, like the video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. So now, I gotta ask, what happens when a quarterback not only handles pressure, but controls it? What happens when he flips the spotlight from vulnerability to strength? I'll tell you what happens. Teammates start to notice. Veterans start to listen. And that's what we're seeing in the Browns locker room right now. Since OTAs, this thing's been simmering. But after that tape, it's boiling. And y'all, don't get it twisted. This ain't just about fans or media hype. This is about respect. On the field, in the building, in the meeting rooms. Word is coming out that veterans, some of the same guys who know their roster spot could be in jeopardy, are pulling Shedeur aside, helping him dissect coverages, getting his timing right, coaching him on cadence and communication. You don't do that unless you believe in what you're seeing. Unless you recognize, this dude might actually be it. You don't help a guy take your job, unless you've already accepted that it might be inevitable. And that's where the Browns front office suddenly finds themselves with a problem they didn't expect. They can't hide Shedeur anymore. Not after those throws in minicamp. Not after the crowd reactions at open practice. Not after the jersey sales that are already creeping up like he's the face of the franchise. Let's not forget, this wasn't the plan. Shedeur was supposed to sit, learn, maybe come in for a few preseason snaps, smile for the cameras, and fade into the background while someone else, Flacco, Pickett, whoever held the job. But now they have to answer one question that's growing louder by the day. Why isn't the most polished quarterback on the roster starting week 1? How do you spin that? I'll tell you how. You start the PR routine. We're sticking to our development plan. Competition brings out the best in everyone. We want to set them up for long-term success. I've heard those lines before. That's GM code for, we didn't expect him to be this good, and now we're scrambling. But here's the cold truth about a revolution. Once it starts, you can't shove it back in a locker. And make no mistake, this is a revolution. Shedeur isn't just trying to win a starting job. He's challenging the whole blueprint, the whole image of what an NFL rookie is supposed to look like. He didn't just survive the league's personality test, he flipped it inside out. Because when the worst thing they could say about you is that you were too honest, then guess what? You already won. That's what's happening now. The fans see it. The media sees it. Hell, the league sees it. And if you think that tape drop was explosive, just wait until he steps on the field in pads. Wait until he throws a 30-yard laser off his back foot, scrambles for a clutch first down, and gives that signature calm stare like, yeah, I'm built for this. Because let me tell you, fonts aren't patient. Not in this town. Not after what we've been through. We've seen the tape. We've seen the poise. We've seen how the league tried to tear this guy down. Now we want to see what happens when you give him the wheel. And here's what's wild. Shedeur doesn't play like someone who needs validation. He plays like someone who's building something bigger, throw by throw, drive by drive. Every time he steps onto that field, it's another brick. Not in a wall, in a throne. And at some point, it becomes impossible to pretend he doesn't belong sitting on it. Now let's talk ripple effects. Because the shockwave from this one kid's rise, it's traveling fast. First, front offices across the league are panicking. There are GMs right now who are furious. Not at Shedeur. At themselves. At the scouts they trusted. At the consultants they paid. Because while they were busy analyzing how firm his handshake was, or whether he looked humble enough in interviews, The Browns just got a franchise quarterback for fifth-round money. You know how bad that looks. You know how much pressure that puts on every other team that passed on him, especially the ones who needed a QB. It's brutal. Next. The media reckoning. The same analysts who roasted this kid for not fitting the mold are now backpedaling like cornerback. Some are owning it. Most are spinning it. Oh, we always believed in his talent. Nah, we remember. There are full-on compilations now. A pro takes versus July rewrites. It's comedy, but it's also a reminder that narrative can be a weapon, and Shedeur disarmed it like a pro. And let's not forget the locker room dynamics. It's one thing to impress the media. It's another thing entirely to earn the trust of the guys who bleed next to you. But that's what Shedeur is doing. First in, last out. Grinding tape, asking questions like a vet. That's not a fluke, that's culture-shifting energy. And yeah, we gotta talk about Deion, because for months, people dismissed Shedeur as coach. Prime's kid said he didn't earn anything, said his dad did all the heavy lifting. But when that interview leaked, Deion's name wasn't even mentioned. Shedeur stood alone, on his own 2 feet, and now, instead of being a liability, that connection to Deion is looking more and more like a blueprint. Because what Deion built with his sons, that's not hype, that's leadership, that's legacy. And the final ripple, the fans. Browns fans are activated. We've been burned, we've been patient, but now we're invested. We see what's happening, we feel it. We want to believe in something real, and Shedeur, he's giving us that. But let me say this before I wrap up. This isn't just about one kid. This is about the entire NFL. For years, the league has said it wants leaders, innovators, confident, intelligent quarterbacks, but when that confidence comes in the wrong package, too bold, too black, too authentic, they punish it. And Shedeur, he broke that mold and made it look easy. Young quarterbacks everywhere are watching, learning, understanding that you don't have to shrink to fit this league. That you can walk in with your head high, speak your truth, and still win. So yeah, keep your eyes on the preseason. Watch how Shedeur carries himself. Watch how he commands the field. Because if he performs like we all know he can, this ain't just a comeback story, this is a movement. And I'm telling y'all now, the kid they called difficult just became the most dangerous man in Cleveland. Now take a step back for a second. Everyone's caught up in the headlines, the Giants rumors, the media frenzy, all that noise. But something way bigger is happening underneath all of it. Shedeur is redefining what it means to be a rookie quarterback in the NFL, not just in how he throws the ball, but in how he carries himself, in how he shapes the conversation. He's building something that's about way more than touchdowns or draft grades. This is about power, control, ownership. He's doing things different, intentionally so. Please take 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button, like the video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Not just building a football career, he's building a business. The man is running his career like a CEO. That prime equity clause in his contract, that wasn't just a gimmick. That was a message, a blueprint, a new standard. Because most rookies walk into the league with one goal: fit in, don't screw up, don't talk too much, and hope they earn a second contract. Then maybe, they start thinking about building a brand, but not Shedeur. He walked in day one, with a logo, a media strategy, a merch line, a marketing plan, and a digital footprint that already rivals some Pro Bowl vets. And now that he's backing it up with what he's doing on the field, that brand, it's blowing up. This isn't some leftover nil hype from college. No, this is calculated. This is the NFL meeting a player who understands how to merge performance and presence, and he's doing it better than anyone I've ever seen this early in their career. Yeah, we've had marketable QBs before: Trevor Lawrence, Kyler Murray, even Justin Herbert, but their brands came after the wins. Shedeur, he's building his brand and winning at the same time. That's scary, that's disruptive. And that's exactly why the NFL isn't ready for him, because here's the truth: this league is used to shaping the narrative. From rookie symposiums to media coaching to tightly scripted pressers, the NFL wants young stars to fit the mold. Be inspiring, be humble, and most of all, be predictable. But Shedeur, nah, he doesn't fit that. He's thoughtful, but not submissive. Confident, but never fake. Marketable, but 100% real. He says what he means. He guards his peace. And if someone tries to throw shade or act shady, he'll call it out, even if it costs him that kind of self-awareness and control. It's a threat to the old system, because if more rookies show up with their own media teams, their own lawyers, their own brands, suddenly the teams aren't the only ones in charge. That changes the game. Shedeur's showing future players that you don't have to wait. You don't need 5 years or a Pro Bowl nod to start owning your name, your voice, and your value. You can do it from the moment you walk in. And let's be real, the folks who used to call him arrogant, they're looking real quiet right now. Remember when the critics couldn't stop talking about how he was too polished or too confident? Yeah, and then the film dropped. What did we see? A composed, mature young man who spoke with clarity and honesty. No ego, just truth. And yet somehow, that truth made people uncomfortable. Funny, isn't it? How confidence is celebrated in some players: Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, but questioned in others. You know what I'm saying? But now, Shedeur's proving himself. And all those critics, They're suddenly silent or trying to switch sides, like they never said a word. But I remember, and I know Shedeur does too. He's just not wasting time with "I told you so" moments. He's too locked in on what's next. Inside the Browns facility, something is shifting. When Shedeur first arrived, people looked at him like a project, a long-term bet. High upside, low expectations. But now, players are watching, coaches are rewatching his tape. Wide receivers are asking to run routes with him. Why? Because he looks like the guy, not just on paper, but in his movement, his decision-making, how he reads the field. You're starting to hear things like he doesn't panic under pressure, and he's making veteran-level checks at the line. That's not how people talk about fifth-round rookies. That kind of internal buzz spreads fast, and it's shifting the energy in Cleveland. And look, if you're the Browns, and you've spent the last 20 years chasing quarterback stability, better pay attention. You can't ignore it when your rookie is outplaying your backup. You can't write it off as just camp hype when your defense is clapping for his plays and your WRS are catching lasers. You can't bench momentum, not in a city starving for a new face of the franchise. Let's keep it 100. Rise is putting pressure on everyone. Think Kenny Pickett isn't seeing the buzz. Think Joe Flacco wants to be a mentor again while the whole fan base chants for change. This is the NFL. It's cutthroat. Reps equal money. And Shedeur is stacking up the reps. Every time he drops a red zone dime, someone else loses leverage. Every 2-minute drill he executes like a vet. Someone else falls out of favor. And at some point, the coaching staff is going to run out of excuses. You either promote the guy who's performing or you risk looking like you don't know what you're doing. And he knows. This is a contract year for him. He can't afford to be stubborn. Browns fans aren't just watching this story unfold. They're invested in it. This training camp feels different. The roster is deeper, the defense is stacked, but more importantly, there's a buzz around this rookie. A belief. Not because he was some top pick, but because he came in ready. He stayed working. He never stopped believing in himself. Every interview, every highlight, every mixed-up moment, it's adding fuel to that belief. When that first preseason game kicks off, every single throw Shedeur makes is going to be dissected like it's the playoffs. That's the power of narrative, and right now Shedeur owns that. And let's be honest, the old guard in the NFL is feeling it, because this wasn't supposed to happen. Shedeur wasn't supposed to thrive like this. He was supposed to wait his turn, get humbled, sit quietly and learn the system. But instead, he's winning the locker room. He's winning fans. He's winning control. And the NFL hates when players take the pen out of their hand and write their own stories. We've seen it before. Lamar Jackson with his contract. Richard Sherman taking over the mic. Jalen Hurts flipping the script on the dual threat label. And now, it's happening again with a fifth-round rookie. A glitch in the system. If Shedeur keeps rising, this story becomes bigger than just him. It becomes about every kid who was called difficult. Every quarterback who didn't fit the scheme. Every prospect who was told to know their place. Because if Shedeur wins, that means the rules are broken. And maybe, just maybe, it's time for a new playbook.